Hello and welcome to U.S. Cricket Now, the podcast covering all things Major League Cricket. I'm Peter Della Penna.
And I'm Aaman Patel. And coming up, we take a look at tonight's thrilling Eliminator, where MLC New York proved to be good enough and win by 2 wickets.
Gonna get through. And they've done it. Mumbai got there in the end.
We hear from the player of the match, Trent Boult.
I thought it was a cracking game. Conditions changed, it was a bit of a roller coaster. But obviously, from my point of view, nice to get the win and progress.
And we previewed the playoff matchup, El Clasico, brewing in the Challenger between TSK and MLC New York. And we're back together. Peter, so what could be better?
Well, if you're watching at home on YouTube, that could be better. Getting to see both of us. If you follow U.S. Cricket Now on Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube, follow along for every episode. Just search U.S. Cricket Now. Now, Aaman. Whew. needs to take a deep breath after that ending, Aaman. It was 34 overs of, I don't want to say boredom, but I was saying to the people in the press box, like, what is MLC New York doing here? They should have won this game. They had him 16 for 5.
Yep.
They could have bowled him out for 70 or 80. They let Xavier Bartlett allow the Unicorns to get back into the game. Xavier Bartlett with a crucial knock for the Unicorns. And then in the chase, they just seemed like they were content to drag it out to 20 overs. And you get into that situation, that can be trouble. You sometimes be careful what you wish for. If you let it out, we'll take our time. And they took their time, and they gave enough time for Hassan Khan to bring the game alive. And then what a finish, Aaman.
It was unbelievable. And the dramaticism of the end of the game almost made us forget that we nearly didn't have a second innings. We were delayed by an hour due to rain, and there's a lot of people who thought it's going to circle right back through, and we're going to get all this rain. And I was sitting there thinking, what a result it would be if New York had San Francisco 16 for 5, 67 for 6, finished them out with 131, and then you don't get to play second innings, and because San Francisco finished higher in the regular season, get to go on through.
Luckily, it didn't come to that, miraculously. But my oh my, first off, the first innings, we talked about Hassan Khan in the lead up to this game. Well, first, we'll talk about Trent Boult. I'll give you the first kudos because you picked out Trent Boult as somebody to watch. Turns out being the player of the match. And his 2 for 19 seems like a long time ago because I think most people remember the 6s at the end to cap off the game. But that opening spell, his 2 wickets, take us through that.
He was so good opening up with the bowling. And you think about the conditions then, too. Cloudy, overcast. By the time the game started, it felt 15 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than it did when we had the toss. And you said, oh, this feels like a Trent Boult day. And to nick off Seifert and just to get through that attack and make it really difficult for McGurk, that nick off as well. Took the catch of Sanjay Krishnamurthy, maybe 4 or 5 bounces on that one, but he got the shoulder involved too. But he was so good early on. And again, it's like we said, with the batting woes of the Unicorns, without Finn Allen, having to go to Tim Seifert, no Romario Shepherd in the back end, you needed to take early wickets. And the Unicorns, they also knew their batting wasn't up to snuff because they played the extra batter in Hamad Azam. They said, we need the extra domestic batter rather than playing a Kareem Agor, perhaps. And then Hamad wasn't able to get going either. And from a New York perspective, it wasn't just Boult. You mentioned it. Nosthush Kenjige was brilliant early on as well.
Took 2 wickets, so the 4 wickets that were taken in the first 25 balls, 2 wickets to Kenjige and 2 wickets to Trent Boult. However, I thought the moment of the match, really.
Agreed.
Hassan Khan.
Yep.
What were you doing? Hassan Khan, we talked about in the preview. They could not stop him. The bowlers could not contain him for the Unicorns. The only way to get out was to get himself out, and that's precisely what he does. First ball, hits it straight to mid-off. Poran pounces on. Poran is thinking, is he seriously running here? What's going on here? If he wants to run, I'll take him on. Boom, hits the stumps, and, unbelievable.
I'm with you. That, to me, was the play of the day, and that was the thing that changed everything around. I said, as long as Hassan Khan's out there, Peter's right. He can absolutely turn the game on its head very, very quickly, and New York doesn't have fond memories about them. And so to get him going out, you saw there was a little bit of a fight back. If Hassan Khan's there for the fight back, it's not just 130. You're talking about 150 and 160 with the way he's able to strike the ball.
After he gets out, Xavier Bartlett with a rally, 44 off 24 balls for the Unicorns, 2 4s, 4 6s, helped get them back into the game. And then a guy who we've mentioned a few times over the course of the podcast over the last years, somebody who's had limited opportunities, but when he's gotten them, he's performed very admirably. Rushul Garkar, 3 wickets, closing out the innings for MI New York, a guy who he's in a logjam of pace bowlers in the USA setup. He's still some ways away from getting a USA debut, but for a guy who's under 25, who's a domestic player, to do what he did in this kind of situation was really impressive.
And to do it in the situation where Ihsan Adil bowled the perfect over, and he's the one keeping Ihsan out of the team. It's a huge call to go to the man who just turned 22 years of age. But New York, to their credit, because this franchise is so big and has so many plots all over the world, he's been net bowling in the IPL for the Mumbai Indians, and they would have seen him. He's added on the extra 5 kilometers of pace, and they say he's been hitting up to the 130s now. And today felt like the culmination of everything that he's been trying to do. We've seen him go for runs. We've seen him be expensive and not being able to execute. Today, it felt like he took advantage of conditions. And to me, I remember in 2023, right after the first year of Major League, he took a fifer down at Prairie View. And that's what really put him on the map, probably got him into the major leagues the next season. This felt like that type of performance for me. The control he displayed, the swing he displayed, and the extra bit of pace he enacted off the surface.
The chase. Or was it more of a crawl? There wasn't a chase. This was almost a bit of the tortoise and the hare. There was just, what are they doing? They're just kind of taking their sweet time. And there wasn't really much sense of urgency. It was hard to figure out who was having the more difficult conditions, because after the game, you heard Matthew Short talk about how tough it was for the bowlers to grip the ball. For people who weren't watching it, I don't know how well it translated on the TV, but yeah, we had the hour rain delay. And then rain stopped, they got the covers off, and then right as the chase was about to begin, it started to drizzle again, and it went from a drizzle to like a steady shower, not enough to take the players off the field, but rain was coming down for the first 7 overs of the chase, and Matthew Short said it was tough for the bowlers to grip the ball, but simultaneously, it looked like it was making scoring difficult because all that moisture getting into the wicket was making the ball grip and stick, and we saw that really take effect when Hassan Khan came on the bowl.
And even early on, it started to get the ball to skid a little bit. And New York got off to a great start with Quinton de Kock and Aaman Patel. Didn't have to go at a flying rate, but they didn't lose wickets. The par at the end of 5, which was kind of your cutoff point to get the completed match, was 25 without loss. If they could get there, they felt like they were going to win the game, even if the rain came down. They got to that position, felt more than comfortable, and then you saw Matt Short give a nice, juicy full toss to QDK, and he pumped it for 6, as he should have. And you thought, the spin's not going to work here. And then a ball later, QDK tries to run him down to third. The ball's not turning. It just skids straight through LBW. Plum in front, takes the review, walks halfway through the review process. And then Nicholas Puran comes in, and to close that over, straight through the gate. And when I saw that, I kept making this reference on comms to the July 18th matchup from last year between the Unicorns and MI New York, where the Unicorns defended 148. That was a game Heath Richards hit a couple 6s at the end against Higher Strouf to make it very close. But Matt Short took the first 2 wickets in that game. They only took their second wicket in the 10th over when it was 79 for 2. And so you put all that together, and I said, San Francisco's going to have something to say because they've done it before. And this isn't a batting lineup for New York. While Tejinder Singh has some runs, there aren't a whole lot of runs to speak about through that middle order.
No, and when those 2 wickets fell, again, the scoring rate just kind of meandered along. At the 10 over mark, there was a graphic shown on screen where the DL par score was 59, and they were only at 55.
Yeah.
There was a sense that if they don't get a boundary here or there, this might start to slip away from them, even though they've got wickets in hand. And then it really started to slip away when Hassan Khan came on. 4 wickets he took. And then the 19th over. Now, there was a long chat. We asked Xavier Bartlett in the press conference about this. I couldn't believe there was a chat.
Yeah.
I thought it was a straightforward decision. What is there to chat about? Hassan Khan has basically almost won you the game right now. I know there's an argument that could be made that tailenders are less comfortable against pace and they're more comfortable against spin. I thought yes, Trent Boult is probably going to take him on here because all he's got to do is get 1-6, and the equation is back to a run of ball.
Mhm.
You only need 1-6. But I also thought if he's going for that 6, we already saw Tristan Luce get caught on the boundary at long off, miscuing one. And that's probably going to play into Hassan Khan's hands. If he tries to go big, very easily he can be caught on the boundary. So it was kind of a weird situation where you had both sides, you could argue, got what they wanted.
Yeah.
The Unicorns wanted to have Hassan Khan bowl that 19th over, going for that 5th wicket. And if you're Trent Boult, you're thinking, I'd rather face spin than pace. And then we saw what happened. The transitive property won out. We talked about the transitive property. A is greater than B is greater than C. MI New York swept the Knight Riders. Knight Riders beat the Unicorns. What does that mean? It means MI New York. Obviously, they were going to beat the Unicorns.
It was such an interesting 19th over because absolutely was the right decision to bowl Hassan Khan. And the first boundary, or the first ball, was quick into the wicket and it just kind of got miscued. It was brilliantly done on the boundary to keep it to just 2. But I almost thought that was the turning point in the over because then Hassan Khan said, yeah, that's how the ball I'm going to bowl. In the first ball, Trent Boult tried to get onto the front foot to get under it. After that, he was kind of just leaning back, almost baseball style, ready to clear the front leg and just swing through off a length. And I just felt he got too predictable in that over. I know it's tough in the death to toss it up a bit, but the pitch is there aiding him. I would have just loved to see him slow it down maybe and just test Trent Boult's patience and his swing. But credit to Trent Boult. He took Hassan Khan to the boundary. He was 4 for 17 going into the over, hits him for a couple of boundaries, and effectively ended that game.
Now, we spoke to Trent Boult, player of the match, after the game in the post-match interaction, and here's what he had to say about what it was like being out there in the middle in the winning moments.
Trent, you're Della Penna with U.S. Cricket now. The Unicorns players were talking about how it was difficult to grip the ball, not only because of the rain that happened during the innings break, but also it was consistently raining for the first 7 overs of the chase. Simultaneously, all that water coming into the wicket, it looked like when Hassan Khan, by the time he came out at mid, was gripping a bit, made it difficult to score, and it was tough scoring throughout the chase. How did you evaluate the challenge and the difficulty from when you were sitting and watching and when you came out to bat in terms of how difficult it was for the bowlers to bowl to you versus how difficult it was to score runs when the wicket had changed conditions because of all the moisture that had gotten into it?
Yeah, I think that's cricket. Like I said, the conditions have changed throughout the tournament. Rain's unfortunate. If they were batting first, I'm sure, batting second, I'm sure they wouldn't be complaining as much. It's just one of those things. I think the opportunity to change the ball at stages, I think they changed it a couple of times. It can swing back into a bowler's favour with the ball gripping a little bit more or bouncing a little bit as well. But I thought it was a cracking game. Conditions changed. It was a bit of a roller coaster. But obviously, from my point of view, nice to get not the 2 points, but win and progress. Yeah.
All right, well, let's look ahead to the playoff matchup between TSK and MI New York. It's El Clasico. Peter couldn't really write it better in this challenger. Texas, they've been a team that's really a surge because of the spin of Akil Hussain, while New York, it feels like 2023 all over again. You win 3 games in the regular season, but you are hitting your stride when it comes to the playoffs, and they're doing that in a big way.
Well, I think based on what we saw tonight, that tandem of spin, Akil Hussain, Noor Ahmad, I think they could have a huge role to play come Friday night. You have Nosthush Kenjige back. He took 2 wickets. He also leaked some runs later in a second spell where he had a very costly no ball. But otherwise, you take that out, I thought he bowled very, very well, especially in the power play. That power play matchup, it maybe what decides the game. You have the power play bowling of Nosthush Kenjige with the left arm spin, and you have the power play bowling of Akil Hussain with the left arm spin. Which one is going to come out on top?
New York is going to try to take Akil Hussain out of the game, and I think you're going to see the opening pair of Pooran and Quinton de Kock rather than Monang Patel and QDK just because of the left arm spinner. They did in the first matchup, trying to keep Akil Hussain out of the power play. I think they understand they need runs early, and they feel that's their best matchup. I wouldn't even be surprised to see Michael Bracewell promoted to number 3 if a wicket were to fall very quickly in that inning. So I think they're going to do everything they can to keep Akil Hussain away. I think with the ball in hand, I'm so curious about conditions. is it going to be another rain-affected game? Is there going to be that same kind of coolness and that cloud cover that's going to aid Trent Boult? Or is it going to be bright sunshine? And is Faf du Plessis going to do what he does best here in Grand Prairie? That's going to be the real thing. I know the bowling today looked phenomenal for MI New York. I just don't buy on a day without the wind and the clouds that they're going to tear through a batting order like that again.
We're going to have a barn burner on Friday night with MI New York and TSK. We can't wait for that matchup, and I'm sure you can't wait for that contest less than 48 hours away. Now, before we get to Friday night, we got an opportunity to interact with some more fans here at Grand Prairie Stadium during tonight's Eliminator. First, I got a chance to speak to the Briggle family. They're based in Houston. They're big U.S. cricket fans. Aaman, you've met them. We've seen them at Prairie View. We've seen them at Moosa Stadium down in the Houston area. They've come up to Major League Cricket every year it's been happening, and I ran into them again tonight. Justin, the father, with his wife Dawn and their sons Oliver and Marcus, and I got a chance to hear their thoughts about what MLC has been like. And I also got a chance, very fittingly, I'm on the winning run scored by Nosthush Kenjige. He took 2 wickets early in the game, and then he had the winning run. Trent Boult, after doing all that damage in the 19th over, he stepped aside and said, Nosh, you do the honors. You score the winning run. Nosh got the winning run to put MI New York in Friday's match, and I got a chance to speak with Nivica Nosthush Kenjige's wife, who is very easy to find in the crowd, Nosh, because she might be the loudest supporter of anybody in the MI New York contingent. She wears her heart on her sleeve, supports Nosh and the rest of the MI New York squad, so I ran into her tonight in the crowd well before the finish. I didn't want to interrupt all the tension at the finish, but earlier in the second innings, we sat down and had a chance to speak, and so here's what everybody had to say about what went on at Grand Prairie Stadium today. Justin, you're from Texas. You live in the Houston area. You came up from Houston to Dallas to watch the playoffs. First off, how did you get into cricket?
Yeah, so I got into cricket about 4 years ago. Saw a cricket match on ESPN Plus, I think it was, and started watching it with my boys, trying to figure out what we thought the rules were, and then started reading about it. Started reading the laws of cricket. Learning more about it, started watching different cricket tournaments on ESPN Plus, then getting into it more, and of course watching Willow and starting getting into all the matches we could on Willow TV, and then started going to matches. Started playing too. My one of my sons played some, and I played some recreation cricket with some other guys. Still do.
So when you come to these games, who are you here to cheer for? I mean, you got unicorn stuff on. You're living in Texas.
Yeah.
You got the USA players you keeping an eye on. Who are you supporting here?
It's hard to know who to root for. Honestly, if we have to choose a team, the team that we have to choose has got to be what we would consider our home team, so the Texas Super Kings. Other than that, we love watching, especially the U.S. players that we get to see play internationally. We love rooting them on as well. So it's hard to choose a team watching franchise cricket when you're into international cricket, like following the U.S. squad. So. But TSK has got to be the default team for us. That's the home team, so we're hoping they can keep going.
Marcus, let me ask you, what has it been like for you getting a chance to see cricket up close and in person over the last couple of years, ever since this facility has been built, and also, obviously, the facilities in Houston as well that you've gotten a chance to see cricket in?
I mean, it's been really awesome being able to see like what I learned on the TV just up close and seeing kind of all the action in person and being able to meet some of the players, especially at like the smaller matches at some of the localer stadiums. I've been able to talk to some of the U.S. players and other players, and it's also been pretty helpful. I was able to learn more about the game by watching it closer and in person that I could kind of apply to myself and my game.
Dawn, let me ask you here, do you enjoy cricket? Are you tolerating it? Were you dragged here? What's your impression of coming out and watching MLC cricket?
I enjoy it. I actually really enjoy watching it live a lot more than on television. I feel like you're so much closer to the action, and it's just a little more exciting. So no, I wasn't dragged here. I came willingly.
All right, Oliver, you've got a Knight Riders jersey on here. So we've got a cornucopia of support. We got unicorn stuff on, Knight Riders stuff. The TSK stuff is Is it in the washing machine for Friday night after last night's rain? Oliver, why do you have a Knight Riders jersey on? Explain your Knight Riders fandom.
Well, I really like the players that are on the Knight Riders. I mean, I still like the TSK team, but I like the players on the Knight Riders.
Do you have a favorite player on the Knight Riders?
Probably Shadley.
Shadley Van Schalkwyk. Wow. All right. Tell us why. Why does Shadley get your vote?
I like fast pace bowlers. Also, we met him. I like the meet and greet.
What does that mean, just Dawn and Justin, the fact that you get an opportunity to bring your sons up close? That's an opportunity maybe not as easy to access for players in other sports, but to have that with what Oliver just said about Shadley Van Schalkwyk and other players, again, Monarch Patel just 20, 30 feet away on the boundary here, getting a chance to meet some other guys like that in the U.S. national setup. What does that mean to help encourage these boys continue their passion for the sport?
I think anytime a fan gets a chance to meet a player up close and personal, and that player is kind and willing to have conversations with any fan like that, that will only encourage that person to pursue whatever dreams they might have related to the sport that they are in this case, cricket. And so that can only encourage people's participation in the sport and love of the game, I think.
Nivica, who's the wife of Nosthush Kenjige, I have to ask you first, what is it like seeing him back on the field after he was missing in action in California with the injury?
The first thought would be relieved. He's been preparing for this league, especially just gives him that rush, and for him to miss out the first few games, it was mentally stressing the two of us out, but feels so incredible to see him back and doing well.
Now, one of the things I've always found fascinating over the 3 years of MLC, you've always been out here supporting Nosh. And when I say here, I'm talking about Section 102. This is your favorite section, apparently. I never see you sitting in the VIP family suite. You like to be in the crowd, in the atmosphere. Why is that?
I think the fun is out here. The people, the energy. I think it's a different kind of high. And I don't think everybody in the suite are
So Monarch Patel has just got out caught on the boundary. You wear your emotions on your sleeve, Nivica.
I do. And one of the reasons why I don't sit in a very closed setting is because I don't think a lot of people can handle my voice. And when I go all out. So
what's been the proudest moment for you?
I think every time he gets on the field, I am just proud that he is able to contribute to the team in any which way. I wouldn't put a finger on it, but if I have to, then it would be the World Cup match against Pakistan, where he was, one of the main forces in getting them to where they got to. So that for me is my favorite moment, I'd say.
Anything else you want to say about Nosh? Is there something about Nosh that you know that the typical fan wouldn't know that is special about him? We were talking before we recorded about how, we think he's faking the injury because when he took those wickets tonight, he was high-fiving with both hands very vigorously. So do you have any inside info? Has he been faking that right hand wrist injury, or was he genuinely injured?
I wish he was faking it, but no. For him to sit out of those initial games and not have to play, I think he just is going all out. He isn't. When he gets on the field, it's this or nothing. So he.
My question's clearly not as important as that Michael Bracewell boundary struck through extra cover. But go on, Nivica. You don't have to apologize.
His mindset is just in the game. I think he forgets at times that he's physically hurt. But yeah, hopefully he's getting better and he's been able to give his best. So hoping that continues and hoping for no more injuries ever.
Brilliant to hear from everyone in the crowd, especially Nivica. She's been at all these games here in Grand Prairie, and she's had a gay old time. Got her on the broadcast a couple times as well. But guys, don't forget to subscribe, follow, and rate us on Apple and Spotify. And if you want to get in touch with us, drop us an email at uscricketnow@gmail.com.
US Cricket Now is a Viral Tribe Entertainment and Square Cut production. We'll be back for the playoff match between Texas Super Kings and MI New York to decide who will advance to the 2025 MLC Final to take on the defending champion Washington Freedom. Until then, we'll see you next time.